Hello to all of you bold, beautiful, brilliant, and highly evolved souls. I'm Davina, and today I'm going to share with you the differences between a healthy, loving parent and a narcissistic parent. The first thing is a loving parent shows acceptance and unconditional love to their child. This is such a basic thing for a parent to do, just to show that, I love you just the way you are. I accept you just the way you are, so the child feels safe. A narcissistic parent, of course, does the opposite. Love is conditional, and they often show disapproval. They'll probably show a little bit of approval, but then often disapproval that they negate you in some way. Which brings me to the next point, which is validation. A loving, healthy parent will validate their children and, of course, set healthy boundaries as well. But they will be validating, like, oh, I can see that you really like the color purple, or validating feelings, validating their experience. I can see that was a really tough day for you at school today. Validating, everything about them, their opinions, their ideas. And the parent doesn't have to agree with them, but just to validate that they have their own, feelings, ideas, preferences, and to make that okay. A narc, of course, does the opposite. Everything or most things are invalidated, especially feelings. And so there's a ton of gaslighting going on. There's a ton of making a child feel that what they're experiencing is somehow wrong, or it leads to a lot of confusion for the child, right? Like, you're not hungry. What do you mean I'm not hungry? They might say, you're not hungry, you just ate an hour ago, but the child does feel hungry. And so they lose that, connection with themselves. And this is a huge part of what narcissistic parents do is, the gaslighting from, everything and anything, making the child doubt themselves, their feelings, and just they lose trust, in their own self. A loving parent shows encouragement. They're encouraging. They praise the child, like, oh wow, I can see you just built that cool block tower. I can see that you're adding another one on top. Wow, it's getting so tall. Just basic, encouragement. A narcissistic parent, again, of course, does the opposite. It's judgment and criticism. It's like, that's not where the puzzle piece goes. The puzzle piece goes over there, and you should be not going up the slide, or up the whatever thing this way. You should be doing it this way. It's constant, judgment, lots of shoulds. You should be like this. You shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be doing that. So it's just a lot of, obviously shaming. I guess I didn't really include that directly, but there's a lot of shaming. A loving parent is like, all feelings are okay. All feelings of the rainbow are okay here. You can feel sad, you can feel frustrated, you can feel angry and disappointed, and you can grieve, and you can even be angry at your parents. Like, everything is okay. A narc, of course, most or many feelings are not okay. They might allow just a little bit of sadness, but then, shut it down. Now you're being silly, they don't want you to express your feelings, because if you know and express your feelings, then you're not easy to control, are you? Right? So they want to shut down. They want to shut you down and shut down who you are. And a big part of that is your feelings, especially for us highly sensitive folks. A loving parent is supportive. They're helping their child. They're like, what are you doing in school right now? They help them with their homework. They guide their children through the many things that children go through, transitions, help them, with their interactions with their friends, if they're having problems, like everything, like parents are there and children are, able to go to their parent for support. A narcissistic parent is neglectful, and yeah, they will just, maybe just turn around and walk away or just make themselves unavailable, so that they're not giving their child that support. So the child just feels like they're kind of floating around, like they don't know what to do. They haven't been given any guidance for their life, and it's extremely, extremely hard on a child. Extremely, extremely stressful. A loving parent, I guess, kind of tied into this. A loving parent is receptive and will listen. They make themselves available. They make themselves approachable so that the child can come to them with, their problems, their questions, whatever. And children love to express themselves. I've been in many households, and children are chatty and blah 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 blah. Daddy, I did this, and mommy, blah blah blah. And if parents are open to listen, to what's going on with the child, what they're excited about, what they're sad about. Of course, a narcissistic parent, again, exact opposite. They're not available, they're not approachable, and they're limited, very, very limited in their listening skills, right? They'll make it very clear what's okay to talk about and how long it's okay to talk. And you're not allowed to go over that. It's basically speak when you're spoken to. And when I decide the conversation's done, it's done. So it's all on their terms. They might play with you when it's convenient for them, so it's, they're not readily available for their children. A loving parent is involved and interested in their child. They show curiosity. They want to know who their child is. They want to know what they like. They want to know what they're doing at school. They want to know what's your favorite subject, or what did you do with your friend at the park today? They want to know about their child. They want to know, what excites their child, what their desires are, and they're involved in their child's life, right? They're the one. They go to the child's softball games, and they're taking their child to, I don't know, a friend's house or whatever. They're involved. And again, narcissistics are generally uninvolved, uninterested. And this is a sneaky one because sometimes narcissistic parents compensate, because they might be, of course, they have no empathy and they have no ability to actually emotionally connect to the child. So they might, and very well likely will, compensate by seeming involved, like, I'm buying you toys and look at me. I went all the way out to this place to get you this book, and I got you this new water bottle. And they're maybe lavishing their child in maybe material ways or ways that they are able to, but it's kind of a cover-up for what they're lacking in terms of really being able to connect with their child in a meaningful way. A loving parent is just allowing, it's a kind of like at the acceptance. It's just like allowing the child to be who they are and be themselves and have their feelings. And it's just an atmosphere of like allowing. And a narcissistic parent is just about control. They do not want a relationship with you. They just want to control you. That's all. They're not capable of anything else. So another one, a loving parent, has depth, has substance, appreciates, conversations about deeper things. And, they're open to their child's questions about God or death or whatever, deeper things. Whereas a narc, very, very superficial. They can only operate on a very surface kind of level. A loving parent welcomes a child's growing independence and autonomy. They want their child to be independent. They know that this is the healthy way that children grow up, right? And that children need to not only learn like how to tie their shoes and do those kind of independent things, but be able to like make decisions for themselves and of course, with parental guidance there when necessary. But they want their child to have their own sense of autonomy and power and authority over their own being. A narcissistic parent generally doesn't want their child to have independence. They don't want their child, and this is, obviously the gaslighting and invalidation is a huge part of this, because just not allowing the child to have that inner compass and inner direction. The child then becomes dependent on their parent, and that's what the narcissist wants, because they're terrified of abandonment, because you abandon them and there goes their supply. So they don't want their child to be sort of a separate individual. The child is just an extension of themselves, and it's basically, you should be like me. That's it. There's no like, I really appreciate that you're like this, and that's different from me, and that's okay. I want you to be your own unique individual self. Narcissistic people don't see it that way, and it can be very for a healthy person, it's hard to understand how this works. But yeah, it's anyway very unhealthy, obviously. A loving parent respects a child's boundaries, of course, again, within reason. If the child says, I want to eat like a bag of candy and go to bed at 10 o'clock, no, right? But they respect the child's wishes and desires. They empathize with that, and they have healthy boundaries for their child, and they also listen to the child's needs, and provide for those needs, again within what's in reasonable. Like if a child wants to hear a story, you tell them a story. I don't know. I can't think of other sort of things, but yeah, they're basic needs. And for narcissistics, of course, boundaries are disregarded often. They just don't pay attention to their child's needs. They don't acknowledge that the child has needs. Even it's just probably kind of ignored or dismissed, or I can think of many times instances where a child, like when I'm caring for a child, has voiced some sort of need through crying, I'm uncomfortable, or I don't know, I don't like this, or something's going on with them. And, I try to, provide for them so that they're, they have their well-being taken care of. And, narcs just don't care. So it's just enmeshment, right? There's no sense of, again, separation, really. A loving parent will communication is open and honest and clear, of course, as best as possible. And this is not going to be perfect all the time, but basically there's a lot of communication going on in the house, and a lot of discussions in between family members, and people are open and honest and express how they feel about things. And of course, if you have a narcissistic parent, communication in the household is very shut down, very limited. There are secrets, there's confusion as to what's going on. Children probably don't know what's going on most of the time. It's just a very, again, stressful, scary situation for a child. A loving parent, just have a couple left here, so hang on to the end if you can. A loving parent apologizes to a child if they make a mistake, or if they realize they've hurt a child in some way, big or small. They will try to they will make an effort to apologize and also to make amends, to repair that disconnect, that damage done in that relationship. And it could happen in, I've often apologized for rushing the children. That's one thing I've not done always so well, and just like look them in the eye and I'm sorry. Davina was rushing and Davina's not being patient and I'm really sorry. It's not your fault, whereas a narcissist parent will blame their child, and the scapegoat obviously gets a huge pile of this. Children are blamed for their parents' shortcomings, weaknesses, mistakes, lack of parenting skills, the whole load of it. So children get a lot of blame. I'm sure I've said many of these before. It's you're being unreasonable and you're being ridiculous and you're being annoying. You're being a troublemaker, instead of looking at what they might need to do, which is maybe be more empathetic or set a boundary or whatever. A loving parent, last one, and this is obviously a big one because narcs have no empathy. A loving parent has empathy and compassion and gives it freely to the child, showing them that they care about, I care about your pain. I care about you. I care about your pain. I care about when you're in distress, and I'm here for you. I'm not trying to fix you or change you. I'm just here for you. I'm going to offer you my empathy and my support. A narcissistic parent has no empathy, so they have to resort to controlling and manipulating their child's feelings by denying their children's feelings, dismissing them, minimizing them, or just plain ignoring their child's pain. Wow. Sometimes I just need to remind myself of all these things. And I hope this was a good reminder for you. I'm sure it's probably nothing new, but I feel like the more I talk about it and the more different ways I can say things, it just sinks in more and more denial falls away, hopefully. I'm wishing you many blessings on your journey of healing and awakening. And I'm Davina at Boldness Blooming. Thanks for watching.